Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Real Momz Podcast, where we're not bad moms, we're real moms. It's a little unusual space. It's not my /dining room, kitchen / family room where the cat sleeps and there's tape. We are at Smash and Grab in Riviera Beach.
Yes.
Woo-woo! And we have Jessica here. She's one of the... What are you here?
I
don't want to get it wrong. I feel like she's one of the owners, but she may...
No, I'm not. Far from it. No, my unofficial title is Operations Manager, Director, HR, Master of Shenanigans.
All in one.
Okay.
As a mother.
She is James's right-hand lady.
Yes.
And so...
Yeah.
So we're going to run with that. But we're here at Smash and Grab, and we're very grateful. Thank you for having us here.
Yes, thank you.
So today is the end of the self-care series.
Hope you got all your nuggets that you need to grab from the other videos in this one. But let's go there.
And if you enjoyed the Yoni Steam video last week, check out our TikTok so that you can go on there and make your own Home Depot Yoni Steam bucket. Just FYI.
Instead of $300 from Amazon. Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and jump right into this today because you already got all the follows and da-da-da-da in our intro. So we're going to start from this end and come all the way over here. We're going to introduce, because we are starting a new thing called Fresh Mom View Panel.
Yes.
Where we're going to do this panel like every month, every other month. We're going to see how it goes today. We're going to get feedback from them and let us know how they like it. So we'll start with you. What is your name?
My name is Karen.
And do you have a lot of children, or do you?
No, I only have one child, by the grace of God. All is well here.
And she is representing our single moms.
Yes.
Oh, I'm Chelsea, and I have one 9-month-old, and her name is Marley.
And she's representing our new moms.
That's right.
Well, you know us.
Yeah, so skip me.
And I am Christy. I am a mom of 3, and I just made it into the Nana Club last year.
I'm Jessica. I have a 19-year-old son who is in the United States Army National Guard for Florida, and I have a 7-year-old daughter.
So she's the wide range mom.
Yeah. I was the started over life all over again. New husband, new wife.
Yeah, I got you.
Knew everything, yeah. So, to get started, this week we're talking about how, what is it, more like breaking out, breakthrough, letting go,
Yes.
how that is a form of self-care. And I'm going to let Tiff start it off because she was already kind of doing the podcast before we even started the podcast.
As usual.
As usual.
So yeah, guys. So I think that this week's self-care is really important to talk about releasing. Okay, this is a side note that just popped into my head. Last night I was watching Stephen Furtick. This is what happened.
Okay, first of all, I gotta warn you all. We have Tiffany Epiphanies. Okay, and I feel like one's about to come on, and then we have Leah Isms.
Yeah.
So
this is what's happening. Epiphany just popped in my head. I'm gonna run with it. Okay. So I watched a sermon last night, and it was talking about not focusing on what's in you, but focusing on what's on you. And sometimes you can get distracted from what God put in you. Like, let's say you are, supposed to be a leader of some kind, or whatever. You like to sing, or whatever God put in you, right? When you're little, you could probably look at your kids and say, you're going to be really good at connecting with people. You're going to be really good at organizing stuff. You can already see what God has placed in them at a young age. And as you grow up, people start putting you in this box. Sometimes people will be like, you talk too much. I don't know why, you think that's cute, right? And they start putting all of their own opinions on you, that you stop focusing on what's in you and you start focusing on what's on you. And I feel like this podcast is more focusing on realigning your focus to what's in you, breaking past all the things that people put on you, or your preconceived notions, or what you thought was supposed to happen, or how people kind of trained you to act, or how you were conditioned to act, and then just living in your truth. You know what I mean? And
having authentic core values.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Not something that you just read on a Cheerio box. And I, like, side note, when we were talking about, you know, as mothers, whatever stage you're in as a mother, new mom, old mom, whatever.
Did you just call us old moms?
No. First of all, I've been mom 10 years, so I don't know. I feel like we all old moms in a way. But the point is, okay?
Well, we OGs.
Let the people know.
So OG panel here, okay? We ain't doing no gang signs, okay?
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All the way done.
You know it wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't do it. Go ahead.
That's true. So, what I was going to say is that, you know, whatever tier of mom you're in, you start realizing that there's a pattern in the stages of being a mom, right? And when you first become a mom, whatever you grew up with or whatever you saw as an example as a mom, that's either what you try to duplicate or what you try to not duplicate, right? And when you become a mom, you automatically put all of these agendas on yourself. Like, I have to do this, or this, all together at the same time, or I am not meeting my standard of what I want to do or want to be as a mom to my child.
That's it.
And that's okay. That's fine to have a standard. But what's not okay is to bash yourself for coming a little bit short when you didn't even realize the expectation that you were putting on yourself. If you don't have a kid yet, you don't understand the magnitude of having a child until you have one. So the preconceived notions that you thought that you were supposed to meet may not be obtainable at that time or in that order that you thought it was going to happen. Yes. Seriously, at any time, to be real, because it's the truth. And so,
And to piggyback off of you, I think that when we put the expectation on ourselves, or the expectations that, sorry, I didn't mean to spit.
You're fine.
The expectations that are put on us from our family, from our own mothers,
yes,
from our own mothers, that expectation that when we become a mother,
It's heavy.
it's heavy.
Yes.
There's a few different scenarios. You either had that mom that was so flapjack and organized that was like, you need to have a room clean, your your dinner, and then they were timely and they had the chart, and then you're like, is that you? Because that's me sometimes. You know, I teeter-totter, you know. Sometimes I'm like, just get it yourself, and sometimes I'm like, follow the chart.
yeah,
you know?
yeah, seriously.
But I had there was barely no structure, so I feel like because I didn't have a lot of structure, I
go to the extreme.
I needed the structure, and then looking at my children, I'm like, maybe I was a little too structured with them sometimes because I would get frustrated, and then I do the supernova. Supernova, by the way, guys, is the mommy meltdown.
Yeah, it's like you're like,
but
I
then,
had that last night.
but then,
I took a bath.
yes,
I took a bath.
take a bath, self-care.
Self-care.
But then the expectation too, I can't tell you how many times I sat as a mom, as a new mom, or even as an older mom trying to navigate my adult children now. You know, especially, you know, ones that live with me. Hi Shay, I love you. I'm trying to navigate that relationship, and sometimes, especially going through what I'm going through, I sit in myself.
Yeah.
She knows because she's my prayer partner. I sit in myself and I'm texting her, and she's like, "Why didn't you text me?" And I was like, "Because I just don't want to burden you."
Right.
So I think sometimes we feel like we're burdening our family members and our friends and our people when we really need to be reaching out and asking for help.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Or even just a vent.
Or even just the vent,
Just to get it off your chest.
or I'm having somebody tell me this, and somebody's telling me this, and somebody's telling me this, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
Can
Don't
you
I
help
call
me?
you like only 3 times
Yeah.
a day? Like, Tiffany, get me right. Because am I wrong? Am I right? Because I don't know.
But
But see, I love that because, like, personally, I think there's strength in vulnerability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I was telling Leah last week, the Lord's like, I want you to be vulnerable
And
next
then-
week. And I'm like, no.
She's saying that to me.
I don't want to.
She's like, the Lord's telling her to be vulnerable, but then I'm over here on Wednesday night like, crying to my husband.
I'm like, how's it going?
It's not going good because the season that I'm in right now, God is breaking patterns and cycles. So in order to break patterns and cycles and not have supernovas every freaking week, God is like, I'm going to need you to ask your husband to pray for you. And I'm like, oh, my husband to pray for me. And Jesus is like, you need to ask him to pray for you. And I'm like, babe, I feel hope smash. Can you pray for me?
Yeah.
And then he did. And then the sense of relief and releasing, I really literally, my husband held me and I cried in his arms. And I released it. Had that been prior to, my whole kitchen would have been looking like their back room. And even though I have an outlet to come to now, I can't drive 45 minutes down here at midnight.
Right. And
No,
in that case that you just brought up, it's so true though. Why is it so much easier? Well, at least for me, and Mom apparently, why is it so much easier to express our frustration and anger than in vulnerability and crying and just letting it out? I feel like sideways we're kind of conditioned to be strong all the time. You know what I mean? To not,
because moms are the pillar.
We
moms
are.
Have to be
Everybody
the center
else.
of everybody's universe, and they have to essentially. Moms are your rock.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, just to kind of like piggyback on what you said earlier, about when you start having children, it's hard because if you didn't have that. That mom, you kind of look for it somewhere else.
Yes.
So I feel like how we pick up the habit of having to be the strong person doesn't necessarily just come from like looking at your parents or your mom or anything like that. It becomes how you grow up too.
Yeah.
Especially me coming from a Hispanic household. Like when you're the oldest, look at me like when you're the oldest, it's like automatic. You're in charge of like everything. You have to raise your
Honey, that's not just a Hispanic house.
Well, like, the way I've seen it, differently, it's different. Like, and I remember my dad's trying to start a business back when we lived in Port St. Lucie for cutting grass. I was in 8th grade, and I had to skip school sometimes because I had to go help him cut grass.
Yeah.
And here I was, a little 8th grader, literally on a big old thing cutting grass.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, we have to go work. Like, I'm like, but I have to go to school, and it's like just different things. And like when bad things happen, it's like, okay, well, you got to do this because we got to go do this. And just you're just looked at as a mature person all of a sudden, even though you're an underage person. So you grow up thinking like, okay, well, I got to do this. Like, so I feel like that as well kind of like makes you see yourself as like, well, I can't break because everybody else
is counting on you.
I'm in charge.
Yeah. No,
And
that's true.
and that's huge because whether it's culturally or if it's just something that it doesn't matter where you come from.
Yeah.
When your surroundings are basically putting these responsibilities on you, you kind of develop this like defense mechanism essentially.
Yes.
Where you're like, you know what? Do myself. I mean, that was always the running joke was, here, let me help you do it. Nope, I'll do it myself.
I'm the queen of do it myself.
Yeah,
But
me
you know,
too.
my dad said to me, your first sentence was no, do myself.
Wow.
Like I didn't want anybody to do for me. Like I had to do it for myself. And now I'm like, you know what? Like a bull in a china. Like a bull in if you're not helping me, get out of my way.
Yeah.
If I'm getting frustrated, but I think that's also part of like my own self-care. It's like, you know what? Just stop.
Yeah.
He's making it
Stop.
worse. Yeah.
Because now you're just making it more difficult for me to accomplish a task. And I think a lot of, as moms, as women, we find this like, you know what? I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
Like I just can't be bothered
true.
for somebody to just
Try to do what I do and not
Right.
Well, it's
understand
not even
the
that.
magnitude.
It's you know what? I'd rather just do it myself than be frustrated by the fact that you're not really doing it. It's not an OCD thing, but it's like you're not really helping me. You're kind of like pausing me from getting something done.
Yeah.
Getting your full potential, like, so like I got it. Just
Right. And especially with the kids, it's like, you know what? Nobody is allowed to watch my kids. It's like in today's society,
You don't know.
you're more
100%.
cautious. Like my in-laws can watch my daughter, but even then, I'm just like, you know, you get funny sometimes.
Yeah.
But then you also have this, nobody's gonna take care of my child
The way that I do it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but that's why God gives children umbilical cords.
Yeah. You know know what's funny? Me and Michael were talking the other day, and literally Michael was like, "Okay, honey, so, my husband likes to ask off the wall questions at random times, like just random questions that don't make sense sometimes." So he's like, "So, honey, if you died, do you think that I could take care of the kids?" And I was like,
No. I'm his mother. That's a fat no. No, I'm not going to say that. They just won't be taken care of as well as
right,
I will be getting a lot of phone calls. I worry about that, actually. That's crossed my mind. I'm like, oh, God. If Tiff dies, this boy's going to call me every single day.
Lord, please protect my
It's
baby.
plastic.
I know. I'm just saying.
But and I was like to him, I was like, honestly, honey, I was like, I said, I think you would do the best that you can. But I do think there is some extra room there for growth. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there are some things that, like, I was like, he's like, well, I mean, I don't see what you're saying. I was like, okay, let's say, for example, homework, okay? When the kids come home from school, whether I'm working or not working, if they need help with their homework, who are they going to ask?
Can I rag on my son right now?
You already know they will ask me because Daddy ain't going to do that. He doesn't like school.
Isn't there a Khan Academy?
Like, he doesn't.
I'm just saying.
You know what I mean? That's not his lane. And that's okay. You know what I mean? That's okay. That's just not his lane. And so I think that's also another part of it is accepting people where they are. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, I know my husband's strong suits, and I know I know my downfall. I have no patience when it comes to electronics not doing what they were supposed to do on time. Okay? And I said what I said. When my husband bought me a laptop for my birthday, he specifically bought the fastest laptop available, not because of the memory, but because if it takes more than 3 seconds to load, I'm putting it down because I can't deal with it.
See how me and Karen look at
I
each other?
I can't.
Because we know. And add no food on top of that. You have a gremlin.
It's the truth. I know my
No water
downfall.
after midnight.
No, one time we went, when we went to Orlando,
Yeah.
she said, oh, I guess I'm going to have to do my homework in the car on my phone. I'm like,
I know.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I have no patience with that. But my husband, he loves to figure out how things work. If something, my work computer was out for like 2 weeks, and my husband was trying to figure it out every day for me, that's his strong suit. That's not my lane. I accept him where he's at. He accepts me where I'm at. I'm not going to force him to go and try to do this with homework with the kids when I know he didn't do his own homework growing up. So you know what I mean? Like I am accepting him where he's at. And what's funny is I feel like we can do that to other people, but it's hard for us to accept ourselves where we are.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, whether I'm a new mom, right? Let me just put myself in Chelsea's shoes for a second. I don't know, y'all just heard 50 Chelsea. Yes, that's what I call her. So that's it. Okay.
Well, ask her how is it navigating new motherhood and then accepting
with the expectation of everything that
well,
she has.
can I say? Remember, I always talk about the 5% of men that watch us. It's her husband. So,
No, I think with that, well, like you said, like learning where people are at. Like for me, I had to learn, like we do parenting differently.
Yeah.
You know, like I may do something and I'm more independent. So I'm like, oh, I want it done this way or that way, and if it's not done the right way, I'm like, let me just do it. You know, I'm
Yeah,
just gonna cut it.
yeah.
When he's like, okay, I got this, I'll do it. You know, let me do it. You know, let me be a dad. Let me try to figure it out myself. You know, don't like micromanage me in a sense.
Yeah.
Or parent me,
Michael-
I guess. Or micro parent me, I guess he was. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I had to learn that too. So.
I remember at one point when me and Michael first got married, he literally was like he literally looked at me and was like, "Are you trying to be my mom? Like, I don't understand. Like, you know what I mean? Because
I mean, can we just be transparent? How many of us have grandchildren? Oh, we're the only two.
We're the only two. It's fine. We'll
people
take it
here.
it was like, oh, wait.
I will say he
You know,
is
she's like, I can't raise my hand. I gotta go home.
That's what I was saying.
We know our strength.
Exactly.
For the record, I have 4.
Yep, 4 big children.
Oh, back here.
I have, one that we got rid of. We have the one that's just crossed into the legal adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
We have my daughter's father.
But
to be fair, I always say even the devil had his redeeming qualities.
Right. He can
And
play
I
good
can-
music.
I could say that about my ex-husband. I can say that about my daughter's father. I
Yeah.
can say that about my dad, my stepdad,
Mm-hmm.
both my stepdads. You know,
Right.
people that I work with professionally. You know, men-wise, but men just have to figure out how to do it on their own. And,
Yeah.
and there's this whole scientific research about the fact that women compartmentalize
Yes.
things differently.
Yes.
But everything still connects.
Yes.
Men are just kind of like, the wires are frayed.
Yeah.
They just are everywhere.
And they just do whatever they want
Yes.
to do.
Yes.
Yes. They just do whatever they want to do.
You guys have something.
But you
As all the men
That's
start
gross.
bumping.
as they all just start walking in. But you have to let them figure it out on their own.
Yes.
But then you have the rare occasion of a man that's like, you know what? Nope.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anybody else to do it for me. And if you don't say what you're gonna do and you're not doing what you say you're gonna do, I just do it on my own. And
Yeah.
then they get really gruff.
Yeah.
But as far as being like a dad, like you have to let them figure it out.
Figure it out.
There's no book,
Yeah.
so you just have to go okay.
Yeah.
Especially like with first time dads.
Yeah.
You know?
And it comes with growth. With when you're
Yeah.
just like when you first became a mom, you may have, you know what's funny? We're just talking about how before we became a mom, as the babies were growing in our stomach, or whether you were adopting or whatever was happening, you were making a list of everything that you wanted to accomplish throughout that child's life, right?
You were?
I was.
Oh, I was not.
I was like, all right, we need to think, we got to do trips, we got to do some family traditions. Like I had a list in my head, things that I wanted to accomplish that I felt like were things that were really important to me that I wanted to instill into my kids. But I don't really think that the guys have that mindset before the baby comes. I think it's kind of like,
How am I going to provide?
right. They have their lane that they're
Right.
focused on. And they're focused on the providing side aspect of it. So now when the baby's here in person and they realize they didn't know how to change a diaper before this day, you know what I'm saying? Like, because they're thinking about it in a different aspect. And so we as moms are just like, you know, let me just do it. Let me just change his diaper. Let me just, I don't want to deal with this learning curve that you're going through. But it's important to let them have that learning curve and give them a little bit of grace as well. Because that's how they'll get better at doing it. To where you feel comfortable enough of, hey, if the diaper's on backwards, I'm going to let it slide today. Because that's happened a few times. And then the poop came out to the back.
that diaper.
I'm going to let it slide today because
If it's backwards, this stuff comes out.
it does come out. It does come out.
But
Because
then
when
he
you're
gets
going to
to
clean it
change it again.
Exactly. Like, with Elijah, I had like separation anxiety. He's my first son. If he was not in my arms, I felt my skin crawling. We lived with Leah. We just got married. We lived with Leah for the first year. And I feel like for 50% of his first couple of months of being alive, I was cocooned in my room. Except for 7 a.m. when I came out to eat a tuna fish sandwich. And then I would go right back in there. And Leah
She would
not
literally text me and would say, bring me a plate.
like, and I would just stay in there. And Leah would come, can I hold him? And I'm like, like, yes.
Sit right
Like,
here.
literally, like, she would go in her room and I would just follow behind her. Like, I just sit
What you
here
doing with
watch.
the baby?
Yeah, like,
Where you going?
And I think, honestly, a part of that kind of came in because I was a teen mom. So a lot of people were saying, well, you're not going to, they had that stigma that I wasn't going to raise my child, that I was going to just push him off on someone else. And I was like, you ain't finna put me in a box.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do different than what you try to tell me I was going to do. You know what I mean?
You can say child raising a child. Yeah, yes.
Yes.
I will do it.
And I'm going to raise him the way I feel like I need to. You know what I mean? And I think, again, that jumps back to what I said in the beginning. It wasn't something that was placed in me. It was put on me from everything that people said to me. You know what I mean? And I think we need to start recognizing, what did people put on you that you're trying to deflect from? You know what I mean? What when we were kids, when you're kids, your toys.
What clothing did you put on as a mom?
Yes.
And how were you conditioned? Were you given, and I did this to Bella, but she's a natural cleaner. I'm sorry.
No, but that's all I'm about to say. The toys
But that's
we
what
play
she
with.
that's what she wanted. But I remember growing up, and I was bought the Barbie dolls, and I was you know, I was given the cleaning stuff, which is fine. I've been a caretaker all my life. I've cleaned. We all know that. But at the same time, I also wanted a BMX bike.
Yes.
And I wanted Soldier Men, and I wanted Dungeons and Dragons, and it was I shouldn't have been limited
To just
Barbie
Barbies.
dolls and cleaning stuff. And my dad provided that for me. My dad understood that need.
The need.
The
Yeah.
need for my dad. Back it up. My dad understood the need for me to have him and his masculine views in my life. Does
Yes.
that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes,
Like,
it does.
I needed my dad to teach me softball. I needed my dad to teach me basketball. I needed my dad to show me how to fix a bike because it made me a well-rounded
Well-rounded, yes.
person. You know what I mean? I just, it was nice that, you know, my grandmothers, both beautiful women, but I was conditioned, especially by my one grandmother, you have to cook and you have to clean, and you know, because she's from
Because they
Finland.
were conditioned.
Because they were
Right,
conditioned.
yeah.
And you know, as I'm an older mom now, looking back,
Yeah.
as I am an older mom now, and I have my daughter here, and I have my daughter-in-law here. I'm just having the revelation now that some of my conditioning on them was very detrimental.
Yes.
And then how do you rectify that as a mom now coming into empty nest? I always poke the empty nester thing. How do you navigate that, trying to repair that or trying to fix that?
Yeah.
You know, so like I feel like when it comes to Chelsea, I'm like, I try to say little things to you like, don't worry about it. You know, like she eats when she eats, or if you have to bottle,
'Cause you'll learn that later.
you know, and
That's
it's not a big thing anymore. The focus of, you are a phenomenal mother.
Yes.
You are a phenomenal mom.
For real.
And I am so proud of who you are as a person, the grace that you carry in your life. And I don't tell it to you enough, and I'm not just doing it because it's the podcast.
But it's
I've
facts.
been wanting to say this to you. You are just, I've watched you grow up, and I've watched the conflict that was in the childhood realm between, you know, it's hard being in a two-family environment growing up, because the other thing is where does my loyalty lie? I feel like, and I just want to be transparent. And I don't know why God's having me stop to say this. We can take this out. I always wanted to be your mom, but I never wanted to infringe on your mom. So I placed myself in a stepmom role, which is conditioning. And sometimes you're brought up as a stepmom is not
as important.
as important or
as close.
and sometimes stepmoms are kind of like,
There's a stigma with that word.
Yes.
it's a stigma because of Cinderella.
Yeah.
Yes.
The redheaded
Because-
stepchild, this, that, and stepmom.
Because
Yeah.
of Cinderella, and then you have the two evil stepsisters, and I never wanted you to feel like that, but I never, because I understand, even though, because you and I share a very similar thing with our moms, and even though I didn't want to step on your mom, sometimes I know you needed a mom, and then I didn't want to feel that because I didn't want you to pick loyalty. Does that make sense? But I just want you to know how so proud I am, everything that you overcame, all the things that you've taken, the grace that you carry, the anointing that you carry, the mom you are to Marley. She is the happiest baby I have ever seen. She is just so vibrant and so happy. And I know that sometimes you don't say a lot, because you're not saying much today. But when you do, it's so impactful.
It is.
It's so impactful. And I just want you to know I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. I think, well, with that, growing up, I don't think I had, like, there was times where I needed you, and because I would come to you more than I would go to my mom, you know, and then there would be times when, you know, so I think there's an importance for you in my life growing up, you know, because there was just things that, you know, I couldn't go to her sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know if I could, can we shave our, you know?
Yes. During the shake sat down
Like, you know.
on my bed at Congress Park, and they were like, "Can you shave shave your, you know. And I'm like, whoa. Because they were like 11 years old. That's her dad since old. And I'm like, well, you can, but what? Why?
Just curious.
It itches. I tried to divert it. I'm like, it itches really bad. And then Shay goes, can you shave your butt? And I'm like, I'm done.
Leave that to Shay, because she loves poop and all that. So I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Not that she loves poop, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and then getting into like, you know, becoming a Christian and teaching me how to have a spiritual foundation. I didn't want to know how to read the Bible or pray or any of those things. So I mean, I thank you for being in my life and thank you, Dad, for marrying me.
And I just want to piggyback on all of that, just listening, you know, I listen and then I speak, but it's like you hear a lot about control.
Yeah.
Let me do this, let me do this. And, you know, they can say, well, I'm a perfectionist. No, you're not, you're prideful. Because Jesus is the
Prideful
only
for the
perfection
Father.
that is there. And it's not I'm a perfectionist, I'm really a control freak, and I'm a recovering control freak because that's the way I was raised. And it's not a bad thing, but my mom was raised military, and this is what I've tried to explain to my kids, like their next housing hinged upon the cleanliness of their house,
Yes.
how they left it, how they took care of things. And you might know, being a former military wife.
Yeah.
And back then things were different. They had to provide. My grandmother didn't work. And so I was raised. There's order. But then you get to the point where it can drive you crazy.
oh yeah.
Because you're trying to fix everything and trying to control everything. And, you know, even raising the 3 kids, I say I've got 3 of each. My oldest is a very creative, very introvert. My middle child is the boss of everybody. Everything has a place. My closet is color coded. She's an overachiever, so I've got to be able to talk her off the cliff. Then my youngest, who is sweet and kind and compassionate, but like 6'5" and almost 300 pounds, and is really working through anxiety right now, just to be honest. And he's a right tackle. And some days I told Leah, like, being a mom is no joke.
Yeah.
Like, I'm helping the 30-year-old negotiate, and motherhood never stops. So for these people who say, oh, they're 18 and done.
No.
How's that working for you? Because I have not that I want to arrive at that point, because I don't. And, you know, navigating being a new parent with my 30-year-old, and sometimes I'll take Landon and he just falls asleep. And my son will be like, how do you do that? Because I'm not worked up.
Yeah. They
It's a
can
different
stress.
stage when you're a nana and a meemaw. You know that. You're not like, you know. And then, you know, my daughter's getting ready to leave for college. And, like, that's my little best friend. So I am in a huge, huge season of transition. And I can't go into all of it because it's just too much. But, like, then my youngest, navigating him through that. And I'm thinking, God, if I had your size, I'd be like, it's game time. Let's go. I'm fixing to knock you down. But that's not as hard.
Yeah.
But then something happens when he shifts onto that field. And I just feel like God has called us to navigate, but then to shift them in what they're called to do.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stand behind my son and be like, you didn't do hospital corners on those sheets, and you didn't make this perfect.
Yeah.
Because if I can't release control, he's going to be an incapable adult.
Yeah.
So as hard as it is, you
gotta
either
let it
trust
go.
God to get pregnant and have these babies, or maybe you got pregnant and weren't expecting it, but you're still trusting God to navigate it. You've got to be able to release and let them do their thing, because if not, you're going to drive yourself crazy and right into the ground,
Yeah.
including your husband, significant other, whoever else.
Yeah.
You either trust him or you don't. And real quick, when Adam and Eve were in the garden, even though they saw each other in all their glory, and they could have went right into reproducing. No, let's be honest. I said all
Hey,
their glory.
she said it all the glory.
Because the Bible said they were naked.
Yes.
They were naked. I take that as they're in all their
Bone of
glory.
my bone,
And they would have been
flesh
real.
of my
Okay.
flesh. Is that what you said, boo? Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh.
And he said, go forth and reproduce. So they could have at that time.
Yeah.
But this is what really hit me when I was reading it. The Lord said, until they delighted in him, they weren't fruitful. So they could have been busy all day long, but nothing was produced.
Yeah.
You're all right, Jilly. You're all right. I'm being honest. This is called Real Mom, so it's real.
We being real up in here. Okay.
So,
Sorry.
that's my question to you and like everybody listening.
Yeah.
You can be all braggadocious and be like, I'm busy and I'm this and my house is organized and my kids are in sports. And well, you know what? Congratulations. Good for you. You know what I mean? If you put on this facade that you've got it all together, but you're not sleeping at night, and this is who we are. This is real. This is who God created us to be. I have not arrived at a mother. I have not perfected it as a mother. You can ask my kids. I've apologized to things. Because I was raised how I was raised, and like I tell them, y'all didn't come with the handbook. Like the only thing I know how to do is by the grace of God and what I knew, and what I knew I didn't want to raise my kids in, like we had said before.
Yeah.
And so you can be busy, but are you really reproducing anything?
Yeah.
And this whole self-care thing has really convicted me, because the Lord showed me, like, you got pride issues that you can't rest. You got pride issues that you can't trust the kids to, vacuum and mop the floors because it's not going to be to your standard. You've got pride issues because you can't rest. You have pride issues because you can't spend the $45 on the foundation you would spend it on your daughter with. So I think this is just a really, really timely series, because even after the last year and pivoting and coping and adapting and figuring things out, that it is about self-care, because the Lord even rested.
He did.
He did.
He rested. He took a Sabbath.
Watch that podcast. It was from like.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I'm like-
there's a little thing up here.
She's like, what is that?
I'm like, what'd I say? Okay, my bad. I'm done.
Let's take a breather there, because that was
Okay.
a lot.
I know.
And the whole time
I'm like,
I feel like there's like an opposite to the whole control thing, because I'm guilty. To the whole control thing, you've seen me cleaning. I go to her house for vacation.
She's
and I was her
I do it
dishes,
at
I
other
fix her
people's
bed.
houses
That's
just
how I
because
am.
I'm
And it's
conditioned.
so
And I'm
bad.
like,
If you go to
you're
my
being
house,
rude. Sit down.
I'm not kidding
Sit down.
you. My daughter fixed her bed like a hotel bed.
She
And
does.
You know what she does now? She does the little toilet paper thing you taught me. I'm like, this is my child. And it's me. I made this.
I know.
And it's true. It is a control problem. And I feel like what I was going to say, because you said is like you have parents that are like that, so it's instilled. But also the opposite does it. Because I know growing up and being that in charge
Regimented.
person, you're so like,
Focus
I
on
don't
what
want my
needs
life
to
to
be
be
done.
like that. So no, we have to do it right because we don't want that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so you're always like, you know what you don't want, so you have to do it perfect. So
In
to prevent.
extremes. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's also,
Yeah. But the reality kind of boils down to is that most of the time you go into the picture with what you don't want to do or what you think you have to do. So you try to do the extreme. And you beat yourself up because you can't be perfect at the extreme, at the level of children or whatever life period you're in. But honestly, give yourself grace. You're going to be in the middle. There's no way you're going to go from 0 to 100 that quick with having a baby and get everything perfect. You make what a good balance is probably 50% of that. I'm not saying to have dirty toilets, because we all know how I feel about toilets.
yes.
Okay? But
It's like the Monster Inc. Like,
alarms are going off. Okay. I know, yeah. But the point is that we need to, shift our gaze, focus on what's in us, take off all the stuff that we put on us, all the guilt, the shame, the everything, and just live our life according to what God called us to be, and that's moms. He blessed us with children. He called us to be mothers in whatever shape or form that we're in. We're not going to be perfect. And if you see a mom struggling, lend an ear, lend a shoulder. If you see that mom look, that you've been there one day, you were there one time looking at a mother, and you can see it in her eyes that she is real struggling. She's tired, or that she needs a break, or that she doesn't know how to navigate this, but she's too afraid to say anything, because as mothers you feel like you have to have all the answers and you have to carry everybody else.
Yes.
Be that mother for her, that friend to her that you didn't have. You may not have had or you had. Keep the cycle going. Be a village for our mothers. It's not just a village to raise a child, but you need a village of mothers to lend their wisdom and to help them go through those times that are rough, because kids are crazy, period.
Thank you, Tiffany. So with all this being said today, being vulnerable, being conditioned, and, just releasing and letting things go, do you have any final words to say?
I just feel like we need to learn how to pat ourselves in the back, even if you left that clothes in the wash and you need to rewash it.
For the fourth time.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Chelsea?
I would just say it's okay to say you need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. And it doesn't show weakness on Big Flash.
And I just want to say, love yourself enough to release yourself from the self-obligation that you have to have it all together and you have to be perfect.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, we thank you guys for coming on our Fresh Mom View panel. I hope you guys liked it because we're going to pull you back in again. Meet our Fresh Mom View panel. Woo, give it up. So Jessica was here. She had to step out because she's getting something special ready for us. They are launching something. I don't even know what it is, but we're going to film it. So if you want to, I can't do the link here, but if you want to go below and see what we did, click the link below. And our YouTube, this is not going to be on the podcast. So if you're listening on the podcast, Singapore, shout out. Australia, shout out. Ireland, shout out. Our 5% in the back, shout out. I'm just saying, shout out to all our brand new listeners.
Yes.
We love you. We thank you. Click that link below and go watch what we're getting ready to do because we're going to be sued.
On YouTube. She ain't saying
on YouTube, yes, on YouTube, because we're supposed to dress funny. I don't know what's getting ready to happen, but
She's being that clingy.
just remember, we're not bad moms.
We're real moms.
Thank you, and don't forget to follow us. I'm not singing it. Bye, y'all.